Captain Randy Powell materializes on the transporter pad of Romulus, his rugged features causing an immediate stir among the assembled Romulan women. Gasps and whispers ripple through the crowd as they lay eyes on a male for the first time in their lives. The Romulan High Council, composed entirely of females, watches with a mixture of fascination and wariness as the human delegation steps onto their planet's surface. Randy's broad shoulders and strong jawline contrast sharply with the lithe, feminine forms of the Romulans. He stands tall, his presence commanding attention as he surveys the alien landscape before him. The air is thick with tension and an undercurrent of excitement. Uma, a striking Romulan scientist with vibrant purple skin and iridescent eyes, steps forward to greet the human captain. As she approaches, she feels an unfamiliar warmth spreading through her body. Her heart races, and she notices an unexpected moisture between her legs. Confusion flashes across her face as she tries to maintain her composure. "Welcome to Romulus, Captain Powell," Uma says, her voice slightly shaky. "I am Uma, your assigned liaison for the duration of your stay." Randy extends his hand in greeting, unaware of the physiological chaos he's causing in Uma and the other Romulan women. "Thank you, Uma. It's a pleasure to be here. I look forward to discussing the trade agreement for your planet's rare minerals." As Uma leads Randy and his team on a tour of the Romulan capital city, she struggles to focus on her duties. Her body temperature continues to rise, and the wetness between her legs becomes increasingly distracting. She notices other Romulan women experiencing similar reactions as they pass by the human males. In hushed tones, Uma confers with her colleagues. "Are you feeling these strange sensations too?" she asks, her voice barely above a whisper. Her fellow Romulans nod, their eyes wide with a mixture of alarm and curiosity. "It's unlike anything we've ever experienced," one of them replies. "What could it mean?" Meanwhile, the Romulan High Council convenes an emergency meeting to address the unprecedented situation. Council members debate whether the humans pose a threat to their society, given the intense physical responses they're eliciting from the Romulan population. "These reactions are concerning," one council member argues. "We must determine if this is some form of human weapon or influence." Another counters, "But we need their technology and the trade agreement. We can't risk offending them without cause." As the council deliberates, Randy continues his tour, oblivious to the commotion he's causing. He focuses on gathering information about Romulus's rare mineral deposits, vital for Earth's advanced technology and defense systems. The stakes are high for both species, with the potential for a groundbreaking alliance or a disastrous misunderstanding. Uma fights to maintain her professional demeanor as she guides Randy through the city's gleaming spires and lush gardens. She finds herself drawn to his confident stride and easy smile, even as she grapples with the unfamiliar sensations coursing through her body. Randy, too, feels an undeniable attraction to the exotic Romulan scientist. Her intelligence and beauty captivate him, but he remains acutely aware of the potential consequences for interspecies relations. As they walk side by side, the air between them crackles with unspoken tension and possibility. With each passing moment, the future of human-Romulan relations hangs in the balance. The Romulan women's unexpected physical responses to the human males threaten to upend centuries of isolation and tradition. As night falls on Romulus, both species stand on the brink of a discovery that could change the course of their civilizations forever. As night settled over Romulus, the air of uncertainty thickened. Captain Randy Powell and his team, expecting to begin trade negotiations, were instead met with an abrupt change of plans. A contingent of Romulan security officers, led by the stern-faced Lyra, approached the human delegation. "Captain Powell," Lyra announced, her voice crisp and authoritative, "the High Council has decided that your team will be relocated to a secure compound for the duration of your stay. This is a precautionary measure for everyone's safety." Randy's brow furrowed. "I don't understand. We came here in good faith to discuss trade agreements. Why the sudden need for isolation?" Lyra's expression remained impassive. "It's a temporary arrangement while we conduct some necessary studies. Uma will continue to serve as your liaison and will explain further once you're settled." As the humans were escorted to ground transports, Randy caught sight of Uma. Her usual composure seemed strained, her iridescent eyes darting nervously between him and Lyra. The captain made a mental note of her behavior, suspecting there was more to this situation than the Romulans were letting on. The secure compound turned out to be a sleek, modern facility on the outskirts of the capital. Despite its comfortable amenities, Randy couldn't shake the feeling that they were being held captive rather than hosted. He gathered his team for a private meeting in their common area. "Something's not right here," Randy said in a low voice. "We need to figure out what's really going on. Keep your eyes and ears open, but don't do anything to provoke our hosts. We're still here to secure those mineral rights for Earth." Over the next few days, Uma visited the compound regularly, ostensibly to continue diplomatic discussions. However, Randy noticed her growing discomfort during their meetings. She seemed distracted, her skin flushed a deeper shade of purple, and she often stumbled over her words. During one such meeting, Randy decided to test his suspicions. As they walked side by side through the compound's garden, he deliberately brushed his arm against Uma's. The effect was immediate and intense. Uma gasped, her body trembling visibly. Her eyes widened, pupils dilating as she stared at Randy with a mixture of shock and undeniable desire. Before either of them could speak, Uma lunged forward, pressing her lips against Randy's in a passionate, desperate kiss. For a moment, Randy was lost in the sensation, the alien yet intoxicating taste of Uma's lips. Then reality crashed back as the compound's doors burst open, revealing a furious Lyra flanked by security officers. "Step away from the human immediately," Lyra barked, her hand hovering over her weapon. Uma stumbled backward, her chest heaving. I don't know what came over me," she stammered, looking horrified at her loss of control. Lyra grabbed Uma's arm roughly. "You're compromised, scientist. Your research duties are terminated effective immediately. Report to Outpost Sigma-9 for reassignment." As Uma was led away, she cast one last, longing look at Randy. The captain watched helplessly, his mind racing to make sense of what had just transpired. Back in the High Council chambers, heated debates raged long into the night. Councillor Valeris slammed her fist on the table. "This is unacceptable. We cannot allow these humans to continue disrupting our society. Their very presence is a threat to our way of life." Councillor Terrace, ever the voice of reason, countered, "But we cannot ignore the potential benefits of this alliance. The humans' technology could revolutionize our defenses, our industry. We must find a way to counteract these effects without severing ties completely." Meanwhile, in the depths of the Romulan Science Academy, researchers pored over data collected from Uma and other Romulan females exposed to human males. Holograms displayed complex molecular structures and brain scans, each revealing unprecedented changes in Romulan physiology. Lead scientist Varen addressed her team, excitement nearly unleashed in her voice. "These results are astounding. The human pheromones seem to trigger a dormant hormone production in our females, leading to these intense physical and emotional responses. If we can isolate the mechanism, we might be able to develop a counteragent." As word of Uma's kiss spread through the Romulan grapevine, whispers of curiosity and rebellion began to circulate. In hidden corners of the capital, small groups of Romulan women gathered to discuss the humans and the strange new feelings they inspired. One such group huddled in a dimly lit basement, voices low but excited. "Have you seen the footage?" one asked. "The way Uma looked at that human? I've never seen anything like it." Another chimed in. "Maybe our leaders are wrong. Maybe contact with other species isn't a threat but an opportunity. We've been isolated for so long. What if we're missing out on something incredible?" Not everyone shared this enthusiasm. In government offices and military installations, concerns grew about the potential breakdown of Romulan society. Emergency plans were drawn up to contain the spread of human influence and maintain the strict order that had defined Romulan culture for centuries. Back at the secure compound, Randy paced in his quarters, mind whirling with the implications of recent events. He activated his secure comm link to the USS Intrepid, knowing he needed guidance on this increasingly complex situation. Admiral Hawthorne's holographic form flickered to life. "Report, Captain Powell. What's the status of the trade negotiations? Randy ran a hand through his hair, sighing. Sir, the situation has evolved. We're being held in a secure facility, and it seems our mere presence is causing some kind of physiological reaction in the Romulan females. I believe they're conducting research on this phenomenon, but they're keeping us in the dark. The Admiral's eyebrows shot up. Physiological reactions? Explain, Captain. As Randy detailed the events of the past few days, including the kiss with Uma, Hawthorne's expression grew increasingly thoughtful. When Randy finished, the Admiral was silent for a long moment. This could change everything, Captain, Hawthorne finally said. The potential for leverage in our negotiations is significant. But we need more information. Your new mission is to gather as much data as possible on these Romulan reactions. Use whatever means necessary, but be discreet. We can't afford to alienate them entirely. Randy nodded, a mix of anticipation and apprehension settling in his gut. Understood, Admiral. I'll do what I can. As the communication ended, Randy stared out the window at the alien landscape of Romulus. Somewhere out there, Uma was grappling with her newly awakened feelings. The Romulan High Council was scrambling to maintain control, and the seeds of change were beginning to take root in a society that had remained static for millennia. The next move would be critical. Randy knew he had to tread carefully, balancing the needs of Earth with the volatile situation on Romulus. As he formulated his plan, he couldn't help but wonder, how far would the Romulans go to protect their way of life? And how far would he go to secure the future of humanity? Humanity and Earth. The weight of this responsibility pressed down on him as he turned away from the window, his mind racing with possibilities. Across the planet, Uma found herself in a stark, utilitarian room at Outpost Sigma 9. The barren walls and harsh lighting only amplified her sense of isolation. As she sat on the edge of a narrow bed, her body still tingled with the memory of Randy's touch. The kiss replayed in her mind, a moment of pure, unbridled connection that had shattered her world. Uma's scientific mind, however, refused to remain idle. She began to piece together the puzzle of her own physiological responses, correlating them with the data she had gathered before her reassignment. As the hours ticked by, a plan started to form. Under the cover of darkness, Uma set her escape plan into motion. She had spent days observing the outpost's security patterns, noting the brief window during shift changes when surveillance was at its weakest. With practiced ease, she accessed a maintenance panel and rerouted the security feeds, creating a loop that would mask her movements. Heart pounding, Uma slipped out of her quarters and into the cool night air. The dense Romulan jungle loomed before her, a sea of alien vegetation that both intimidated and exhilarated her. Drawing on her survival training, she oriented herself using the stars and set off toward the capital. Meanwhile, in the human compound, Randy paced restlessly in his quarters. The enforced isolation chafed at him, but he knew he had to play by the Romulans' rules, at least for now. An idea struck him, and he quickly summoned Dr. Sarah Chen, the expedition's xenobiologist. Sarah, Randy said as she entered, I need you to analyze all the data we've collected on the Romulans' reactions to us. There's got to be more to this than simple attraction. Dr. Chen nodded, her eyes lighting up with scientific curiosity. I'll get right on it, Captain. I've been itching to dig deeper into this phenomenon. As Dr. Chen immersed herself in the data, Uma pushed through the dense underbrush of the Romulan jungle. The unfamiliar sounds of nocturnal creatures filled the air, keeping her senses on high alert. She paused briefly, using a tricorder to scan for any pursuit before continuing her arduous journey. Hours into her trek, Uma froze as she heard voices ahead. Crouching low, she crept forward, her heart racing. To her surprise, she found herself looking at a small group of young Romulan females huddled around a holographic display. Look, one of them whispered excitedly, pointing at an image of Randy. The way he moves, the confidence in his stride. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. Uma stepped into the clearing, causing the group to whirl around in alarm. Who are you? She demanded, her scientist's curiosity overtaking her caution. The leader of the group, a lithe Romulan with striking silver eyes, stepped forward. I'm Zara, she said, chin raised defiantly. We're observers, fascinated by the humans and what they represent. Uma's eyes widened as she realized the implications. You're not alone, she said softly. There are more of you? Zara nodded. A growing number. We believe contact with humans could be beneficial, not a threat. But the High Council, she trailed off, frustration evident in her voice. Uma's mind raced with the possibilities. I have data, she said urgently. Research on our physiological responses to humans. If we could get it to them, combine it with their findings. Zara's eyes lit up. You want to infiltrate the human compound, she finished. We're in. As the unlikely allies formulated their plan, Dr. Chen burst into Randy's quarters, her face flushed with excitement. Captain, you need to see this, she said, thrusting a datapad into his hands. Randy's eyes widened as he scanned the information. Are you sure about this? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Dr. Chen nodded emphatically. The data is clear. The Romulan females' reactions aren't just attraction, they're signs of potential genetic compatibility. Our species might be able to interbreed. The implications of this discovery sent Randy's heart pounding. Before he could fully process the information, alarms blared throughout the compound. Security had been breached. Randy grabbed his communicator, barking orders to his team as he raced toward the perimeter. As he rounded a corner, he skidded to a halt, coming face to face with Uma and a group of wide-eyed Romulan females. For a moment, time seemed to stand still. Uma's eyes locked with Randy's, a universe of unspoken emotions passing between them. The air crackled with tension and possibility. The moment shattered as Lyra's voice rang out, harsh and commanding. Stand down immediately! She emerged from the shadows, flanked by a contingent of armed Romulan security officers, their weapons trained on both humans and the rebel Romulans. Randy stepped forward, hands raised in a placating gesture. Let's all stay calm, he said, his voice steady, despite the adrenaline coursing through his veins. There's no need for violence. Uma moved to stand beside him, her voice ringing out clear and defiant. I won't be separated from him again, she declared, her hand finding Randy's. Our research is too important. The connection between our species, it's more than just physical attraction. Lyra's eyes narrowed dangerously. You're all under arrest for violation of... Her words were cut off as Dr. Chen pushed through the crowd, datapad clutched to her chest. Wait, she cried out. You need to know. Prolonged separation between compatible human-Romulan pairs could lead to severe physiological distress for the Romulan partner. As if to underscore her words, Uma suddenly gasped, her knees buckling. Randy caught her, alarmed by the sheen of sweat on her purple skin and the rapid fluttering of her pulse. Zara stepped forward, her voice trembling but determined. This is happening all over Romulus. You can't ignore it any longer. We need to understand this connection, not fight it. The standoff teetered on a knife's edge. Lyra's finger tightened on her weapon's trigger, her face a mask of conflicting emotions. Randy held Uma close, his mind racing to find a way out of this powder keg situation. In that moment of crisis, with the future of two species hanging in the balance, Randy knew that his next words and actions would shape the course of human-Romulan relations for generations to come. The weight of that responsibility settled on his shoulders as he took a deep breath, preparing to navigate the most challenging diplomatic situation of his career. As the tension in the compound reached its breaking point, Uma's condition rapidly deteriorated. Her breathing became labored, and her skin took on a sickly pallor. Randy held her tightly, his mind racing for a solution. Please, he implored Lyra. We need to find a way to purpose this peacefully. There's more at stake here than just our immediate situation. Lyra's gaze darted between Randy, Uma, and the group of rebel Romulans. Her finger remained poised on the trigger, but uncertainty crept into her eyes. Seizing the moment, Randy took a deep breath and made a bold proposal. I suggest a controlled experiment, he said, his voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. Allow willing human-Romulan pairs to interact closely under scientific observation. It's the only way to understand what's happening and potentially control it. Lyra's eyes narrowed. And why should we agree to such a thing? Because the alternative is chaos, Randy replied, gesturing to Uma and the other visibly distressed Romulan females. This phenomenon is spreading. If we don't study it, you risk losing control entirely. A tense silence fell over the group as Lyra considered Randy's words. After what felt like an eternity, she lowered her weapon slightly. I will consult with the High Council, she said tersely. But until then, no one moves. As Lyra stepped away to communicate with her superiors, Randy turned his attention back to Uma. Her condition seemed to stabilize somewhat in his arms, but she still looked far from well. Hold on, he whispered, brushing a strand of hair from her face. We'll figure this out. Minutes stretched into hours as they waited for the council's decision. The atmosphere in the compound remained charged with tension and anticipation. Finally, Lyra returned, her face a mask of professional neutrality. The High Council has agreed to your proposal, she announced. A secure facility will be prepared for the experiment. But be warned, any attempt to exploit this situation will be met with severe consequences. Relief washed over Randy, tempered by the knowledge that they were venturing into uncharted territory. Thank you, he said. We'll cooperate fully. Within days, a sterile, high-security complex was readied on the outskirts of the capital. Randy and Uma volunteered as the first pair, along with several other human Romulan couples who had formed tentative connections during the diplomatic mission. As they entered the facility, Randy couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and trepidation. The stark white walls and array of monitoring equipment served as a constant reminder of the clinical nature of their situation. Dr. Chen, who had been put in charge of overseeing the medical aspects of the experiment, greeted them at the entrance. We'll be monitoring your vitals around the clock, she explained, attaching small sensors to their temples and wrists. Try to act as naturally as possible. Randy nodded, acutely aware of Uma's presence beside him. As they moved deeper into the facility, he noticed her breathing becoming more relaxed, her movements more fluid. It was as if the mere act of being near him was having a calming effect on her physiology. Over the next few days, the couples were encouraged to spend time together in various settings within the facility. They shared meals, engaged in conversations, and even participated in joint recreational activities. All the while, Dr. Chen and her team meticulously recorded every physiological change and response. The results were nothing short of astonishing. The Romulan females experienced a range of new sensations, increased heart rates, heightened sensitivity to touch, and a strong desire for physical proximity to their human counterparts. More surprisingly, these responses seemed to intensify and become more synchronized the more time the pair spent together. Randy and Uma found themselves at the forefront of this phenomenon. Their connection deepened with each passing day, transcending the boundaries of their different species. They discovered that physical contact, even something as simple as holding hands, had a profound effect on Uma's well-being. One evening, as they sat together in the facility's small garden area, Uma turned to Randy with wonder in her eyes. I've never felt anything like this, she said softly. It's as if I'm becoming more alive with each moment we spend together. Randy gently squeezed her hand, marveling at the warmth that spread through him at the contact. I feel it too, he admitted. It's like we're tapping into something greater than ourselves. Their quiet moment was interrupted by the arrival of Lieutenant Commander Wong, who had just arrived from the USS Intrepid. He carried with him a sleek, unfamiliar device. Captain Powell, Wong greeted Randy, we've developed this based on the data you've been sending back. It's designed to modulate the physiological responses we've been observing. Dr. Chen, who had accompanied Wong, looked both excited and apprehensive. We'd like to begin testing it immediately if you're willing. Randy glanced at Uma, who nodded her assent. As Wong activated the device, Randy felt a subtle shift in the air around them. Uma's grip on his hand tightened momentarily, then relaxed. How do you feel? Dr. Chen asked, scrutinizing her readings. Uma furrowed her brow. It's different. The intensity has lessened, but it's still there, like a whisper instead of a shout. Initial tests of the device showed promise in controlling the strength of the reactions, but it quickly became apparent that completely suppressing them was neither possible nor advisable. When they attempted to fully dampen the connection between Randy and Uma, her distress returned almost immediately. As the experiment progressed, an unexpected discovery sent shockwaves through both the scientific team and the Romulan leadership. During a particularly intense session of physical contact, both Randy and Uma experienced a surge of mental clarity and physical vitality unlike anything they had felt before. Dr. Chen's eyes widened as she reviewed the data. "This is incredible," she breathed. "It appears that intimate contact between compatible human-Romulan pairs triggers a unique biochemical reaction. It's enhancing both species' capabilities on a fundamental level." The implications of this revelation were staggering. As word spread, debate erupted among the Romulan leadership. Some saw it as an unprecedented opportunity for growth and evolution. Others viewed it as a threat to the very fabric of Romulan society. Outside the facility, tensions mounted. Zara and her group of young rebels gained support, their calls for open relations with humans resonating with a growing segment of the population. Meanwhile, conservative factions within the High Council pushed for an immediate end to all human contact. As the experiment entered its second week, Randy sensed a shift in the atmosphere. Security around the facility tightened, and he caught glimpses of heated arguments between Lyra and other Romulan officials. One night, as Randy and Uma lay side by side in their quarters, the facility's alarms suddenly blared to life. The sound of shouting and weapons fire echoed through the corridors. Randy leapt to his feet, adrenaline surging. "Something's wrong," he said, reaching for Uma's hand. "We need to move." As they rushed into the hallway, they nearly collided with Dr. Chen, her face pale with fear. "It's a group of conservative Romulans," she gasped. "They're trying to destroy our research and force us off-planet." Randy's mind raced as he assessed their options. They needed to protect their work, prevent a diplomatic catastrophe, and ensure the safety of everyone involved in the experiment. With Uma at his side, he steeled himself for the challenge ahead, knowing that the next few moments could determine the future of human-Romulan relations. With Uma at his side, he steeled himself for the challenge ahead, knowing that the next few moments could determine the future of human-Romulan interactions. As they raced down the corridor, a deafening explosion rocked the facility. The lights flickered, plunging them into momentary darkness before emergency power kicked in. Randy felt Uma's grip tighten on his hand, her strength surprising him. "This way," Dr. Chen called, gesturing toward a reinforced door. "We need to reach the main lab." They sprinted through the chaos, dodging debris and panicked personnel. As they entered the lab, Randy's eyes widened at the sight before him. Lieutenant Commander Wong stood over a sparking, malfunctioning device, the very one he had brought to modulate their physiological responses. "It's overloading," Wong shouted, frantically trying to stabilize the machine. "I can't shut it down." Before anyone could react, a blinding pulse of energy erupted from the device, engulfing the room. Randy instinctively shielded Uma, but as the light faded, he realized something extraordinary was happening. Uma gasped, her body trembling. Her purple skin began to shimmer, taking on an iridescent quality that seemed to pulse with an inner light. Randy watched in awe as her muscles tensed and relaxed, her entire physique becoming more defined and powerful before his eyes. "Randy," she whispered, her voice filled with wonder and confusion. "What's happening to me?" Dr. Chen rushed to her side, scanner in hand. "Incredible," she breathed. "Your physiology is adapting at an unprecedented rate. It's as if your body is evolving to match human biological patterns while retaining your Romulan traits." A quick glance around the room revealed that Uma wasn't alone. Other Romulan females in the facility were undergoing similar transformations, though none as dramatic as hers. Their moment of astonishment was cut short as the sound of weapons fire intensified outside the lab. Randy's tactical training kicked in. "We need to secure this facility," he said, his mind racing. "If what's happening here falls into the wrong hands, it could be catastrophic." Uma nodded, flexing her newly enhanced muscles. "I feel stronger, faster. Let me help." Together they began organizing the human-Romulan pairs into a defensive formation. Randy was amazed at how naturally they fell into sync, anticipating each other's movements with uncanny precision. As they worked to fortify the lab, Lyra burst in, her uniform singed and her face etched with concern. "It's worse than we thought," she reported. "Council member Tara is leading a full-scale assault on the facility. They're determined to end the experiment and expel all humans from Romulus." Randy's mind raced, assessing their options. "We can't let them destroy our research. There's too much at stake." Uma stepped forward, her eyes blazing with willpower. "I have an idea. The enhanced strength I'm feeling. It's not just physical. My mind feels sharper, more focused. I think I can access the Romulan central database from here." Lyra's eyes widened. "That's impossible. The security protocols are no match for whatever's happening to me," Uma interrupted, her fingers already flying over a nearby console. "There. I'm in." Randy watched in amazement as Uma navigated through layers of encrypted data with ease. Suddenly, she froze, her eyes widening. "By the ancestors," she breathed. "Randy, you need to see this." On the screen before them, ancient Romulan texts and diagrams flickered to life. Uma's voice trembled as she translated, "It speaks of a sister species, long lost to the stars, a people whose description matches humans." The implications of this revelation hung heavy in the air, momentarily silencing even the sounds of battle outside. Randy's mind reeled at the possibility that humans and Romulans might share a common ancestry. Their contemplation was cut short as the facility shook with another explosion. Lyra's communicator crackled to life, relaying frantic reports of Tara's forces breaching the outer defenses. "We're out of time," Randy said, his tactical mind snapping back into focus. "We need to hold this position until help arrives." As if on cue, a new voice cut through the chaos. "This is Commander Elena Rodriguez of the USS Intrepid. We're here under orders from Admiral Hawthorne to secure the facility and mediate this conflict." Relief washed over Randy, but he knew the real challenge was just beginning. With Uma at his side, her newly enhanced abilities complementing his tactical expertise, they prepared to face whatever came next. The fate of two species hung in the balance, and the next few hours would determine whether their shared future would be one of conflict or cooperation. Cooperation or conflict? The answer came sooner than expected. "This is Commander Elena Rodriguez of the USS Intrepid. We're here under orders from Admiral Hawthorne to secure the facility and mediate this conflict." Relief washed over Randy, but it was short-lived. The sounds of battle outside intensified, and he knew they weren't out of danger yet. Uma's grip on his hand tightened, her newly enhanced strength evident in the pressure of her fingers. "We need to hold out until Commander Rodriguez can reach us," Randy said, his tactical mind already formulating a plan. "Uma, can you use your newfound abilities to strengthen our defenses?" Uma nodded, her eyes gleaming with persistence. She moved to a nearby console, her fingers flying over the controls with inhuman speed. "I'm rerouting power to reinforce the facility's shields," she announced. "It should buy us some time." As Uma worked, Randy organized the other human-Romulan pairs into a defensive formation. He was amazed at how quickly they fell into sync, their movements fluid and coordinated as if they'd trained together for years. Dr. Chen continued to monitor the situation, her eyes wide with wonder. "The physiological changes are accelerating," she reported. "It's not just Uma. All the Romulan participants are showing signs of enhanced abilities." A thunderous explosion rocked the facility, causing dust to rain down from the ceiling. Lyra's communicator crackled to life, relaying frantic reports of the situation outside. "Tara's forces have breached the outer perimeter," Lyra said, her voice tight with tension. "Zara and her rebels are trying to hold them back, but they're outnumbered." Randy's mind raced, assessing their options. "We need to get a message to Commander Rodriguez," he said. "Let her know the full scope of what's happening here." As if in response to his words, a holographic display flickered to life in the center of the room. Commander Rodriguez's face appeared, her expression a mix of concern and purpose. "Captain Powell, we've established a secure communication link," she said. "What's your status?" Randy quickly briefed her on the situation, including the unexpected physiological changes and Uma's discovery in the ancient Romulan archives. Rodriguez listened intently, her brow furrowing as she absorbed the information. "This changes everything," she said. "I'm initiating negotiations with both Lyra and Terra now. We need to find a peaceful resolution before this escalates further." As Rodriguez worked to bring the opposing factions to the table, Randy and Uma led the efforts to fortify their position within the facility. Uma's enhanced intellect allowed her to create innovative defenses, repurposing scientific equipment into makeshift barriers and energy shields. Hours passed in a tense standoff. Outside, the sounds of conflict gradually diminished as Rodriguez's peacekeeping team worked to separate the warring factions. Inside the facility, Dr. Chen continued her analysis of the malfunctioning device and its effects on the human-Romulan pairs. "This is remarkable," she said, her voice filled with awe. "The accelerated evolution process isn't just beneficial, it might be necessary for both species' long-term survival. Without this genetic exchange, we could face evolutionary stagnation and increased vulnerability to cosmic threats." Randy and Uma exchanged a long look, the weight of this revelation settling over them. They had stumbled upon something far more significant than anyone had anticipated. "We need to show them," Uma said softly. "We need to prove what's possible when our species come together." Randy nodded, understanding her meaning instantly. "You're right," he said. "It's time to take a leap of faith." They approached Dr. Chen together, their decision made. "We want to undergo a controlled mating process," Randy announced. "Under scientific observation, it's the only way to provide concrete evidence of what our union can achieve." Dr. Chen's eyes widened, but she quickly composed herself. "Are you sure?" she asked. "The risks are unknown, and the implications are exactly why we need to do this," Uma finished. "Our people need to see the potential of human-Romulan cooperation with their own eyes." As Dr. Chen prepared the necessary equipment and protocols, news of Randy and Uma's decision spread through the facility and beyond. Reactions were mixed, ranging from excitement and hope to fear and outrage. But there was no turning back now. Under the watchful eyes of Dr. Chen and her team, Randy and Uma began the mating process. As their bodies joined, strange phenomena began to manifest around them. The facility's power system surged, causing lights to flicker and equipment to spark. Randy felt an indescribable energy coursing through him, his muscles tightening and expanding. Uma's purple skin took on a mesmerizing, shimmering quality, as if lit from within by starlight. The air around them crackled with an invisible force, causing nearby electronic devices to malfunction. Outside the facility, the energy surge rippled outward, affecting the gathered Romulans. Many experienced a sudden, intense awakening of dormant genetic traits, causing a wave of panic and confusion to sweep through the crowds. As Randy and Uma's union reached its peak, a blinding flash of light engulfed the room. When it faded, they lay still, their bodies intertwined and glowing with a faint, otherworldly aura. Dr. Chen rushed to their side, her scanner whirring as she assessed their condition. "Incredible," she breathed. "Their genetic structure has been fundamentally altered. It's as if their DNA has been rewritten to bridge the gap between human and Romulan genomes." As Randy and Uma slowly regained consciousness, they became aware of a profound change. Their minds seemed linked on a fundamental level, allowing them to communicate without speaking. Their physical abilities had increased exponentially, and they found themselves grasping advanced scientific concepts with ease. The implications of what had occurred were staggering, and as news spread, the mood on Romulus began to shift. Many Romulans, witnessing the benefits of the transformation and experiencing their own genetic awakening, started to view humans not as a threat, but as the key to their species' advancement. Commander Rodriguez, seizing the moment of change, proposed a bold new initiative, the establishment of a joint human-Romulan scientific and cultural exchange program. As both humans and Romulans grappled with the implications of these events, all eyes turned to the Romulan High Council and Earth's government, awaiting their response to this new era of interspecies relations. Randy and Uma stood together, their hands clasped as they prepared to face the challenges ahead. They had become living symbols of a potential future, one that promised to reshape the entire galaxy. The immediate crisis had been averted, but they knew their journey was nowhere near the end. The true test of human-Romulan cooperation was just beginning. The true test of human-Romulan cooperation was just unfolding. As the dust settled from the recent events, the Romulan High Council convened an emergency session to address the rapidly evolving situation. The council chamber buzzed with tension as conservative and progressive factions engaged in heated debate about the future of Romulan society. Council member Vela, who had previously shown sympathy towards human-Romulan relations, stepped forward. Her voice carried across the chamber, silencing the murmurs of dissent. "Esteemed colleagues," she began, her eyes scanning the room, "we stand at a crossroads in our history. The evidence gathered from the research facility cannot be ignored." Vela activated a holographic display showcasing Dr. Chen's findings on the potential evolutionary benefits of human-Romulan genetic exchange. The council members leaned forward, their expressions a mix of fascination and apprehension. As the debate intensified, reports began flooding in from across Romulus. Romulan females who had been in proximity to humans during their stay on the planet were exhibiting enhanced abilities similar to Uma's, though to a lesser degree. The council chamber erupted into chaos as this information spread. Meanwhile, at the research facility, Randy and Uma continued to explore their newfound abilities. They stood before a complex Romulan computer system, their hands hovering inches from the interface. "Are you ready?" Randy asked, glancing at Uma. She nodded, her eyes gleaming with anticipation. "Let's see what we can do." As they focused their minds, tendrils of energy flickered between their fingertips and the computer's surface. The system came to life, responding to their thoughts with unprecedented speed and precision. Dr. Chen watched in awe, her scanner whirring as it recorded data. "This is incredible," she breathed. "You're interfacing directly with the technology. The implications for medicine, energy production, space travel, they're limitless." On the USS Intrepid, Admiral Hawthorne received an encrypted transmission from Earth's government. His eyes widened as he read the contents. "Commander Rodriguez," he called out, "report to my ready room immediately." When Rodriguez arrived, Hawthorne's expression was grave. "We've received new orders. Earth wants to establish a permanent diplomatic presence on Romulus. They've selected you to lead this mission." Rodriguez straightened, her mind already racing with the implications. "I understand, sir. I'll begin preparations immediately." As Rodriguez set to work, coordinating with Lyra to ensure a smooth integration into Romulan society, news of the events on Romulus spread rapidly across Earth. The prospect of accelerated evolution through interspecies, mating dominated headlines and sparked intense debates in scientific and political circles. Back on Romulus, Zara and her group of young rebels found themselves thrust into a new role. No longer protesters, they became cultural ambassadors, organizing educational programs to teach Romulans about human culture and physiology. Zara stood before a packed auditorium, her enthusiasm infectious as she addressed the crowd. "Today, we begin a journey of understanding," she announced. "Together, we'll explore the rich tapestry of human culture and the incredible potential our union holds." The High Council's debate reached a fever pitch as Uma made a startling discovery. Using her enhanced abilities, she decrypted previously inaccessible portions of the ancient Romulan archives. What she found sent shockwaves through Romulan society. "A prophecy," Uma explained to the council, her voice trembling with excitement. "It speaks of a time when Romulans would encounter their star-born kin, leading to a great transformation and an era of unprecedented advancement." The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Many interpreted this as a clear sign that their union with humans was not only beneficial, but predestined. Swayed by the mounting evidence and the apparent fulfillment of ancient prophecy, the High Council reached a historic decision. They voted to formally open diplomatic relations with Earth and to cautiously allow and regulate human-Romulan pairings. As news of this decision spread, Admiral Hawthorne saw an opportunity. He proposed the establishment of a joint human-Romulan space exploration initiative, aiming to combine the strengths of both species in pushing the boundaries of known space. The initiative gained rapid approval from both Earth's government and the Romulan High Council. As preparations began, Randy and Uma found themselves at the center of attention, their successful union serving as a template for future human-Romulan pairings. The research facility where their journey began was expanded into a full-fledged Interspecies Compatibility Institute. Under the joint leadership of Dr. Chen and Romulan scientists, the institute began accepting volunteers from both species for further study and controlled mating experiments. As these groundbreaking developments unfolded, other alien races took notice. Some expressed curiosity and a desire to establish similar relationships with humans, while others viewed the human-Romulan union with suspicion. Randy and Uma stood on the bridge of a newly commissioned starship, the culmination of human and Romulan engineering. As they prepared to embark on the first mission of the Human-Romulan Space Exploration Initiative, they exchanged a look of shared anticipation. "Ready for our next adventure?" Randy asked, a smile playing at the corners of his mouth. Uma's eyes sparkled with excitement as she replied, "Always. Let's see what the stars have in store for us." As the ship's engines hummed to life, Randy and Uma turned their gaze to the view screen, where the vast expanse of space beckoned. The galaxy watched with breathless expectation as this new chapter in interstellar relations unfolded, with the potential to reshape the cosmic order in ways no one could have imagined. As the ship's engines hummed to life, Randy and Uma turned their gaze to the view screen, where the vast expanse of space beckoned. The galaxy watched with breathless expectation as this new chapter in interstellar relations unfolded, with the potential to reshape the cosmic order in ways no one could have foreseen. The night before the launch, Randy and Uma found themselves participating in a traditional Romulan bonding ceremony. The ornate chamber was filled with the soft glow of bioluminescent plants, their ethereal light dancing across the faces of the assembled guests. Uma, dressed in flowing robes of deep purple and silver, stood across from Randy, who wore a tailored suit that blended human and Romulan styles. As they clasped hands, a sudden surge of energy pulsed through their bodies. A visible aura of shimmering light enveloped them, casting intricate patterns on the walls. The assembled crowd gasped in awe, but their wonder quickly turned to amazement as the phenomenon spread. Human-Romulan couples throughout the room began to experience similar effects. Dr. Chen, who was monitoring the event, watched in fascination as her sensors went haywire. "It's as if their latent genetic potential is being awakened on a massive scale," she murmured, furiously tapping at her datapad. The ceremony concluded with Randy and Uma sharing a deep, passionate kiss. As their lips met, the energy surrounding them intensified, bathing the entire chamber in a warm, pulsating light. When they finally parted, the room erupted in cheers and applause, the significance of the moment not lost on anyone present. Dawn broke on launch day, painting the Romulan sky in hues of amber and violet. The spaceport buzzed with activity as final preparations were made for the maiden voyage of the USS Harmony. The sleek vessel, a marvel of combined human and Romulan engineering, stood proudly on the launch pad. Randy and Uma, now co-captains of this groundbreaking mission, strode confidently towards the ship. Their crew, a diverse mix of humans and Romulans, fell into step behind them. Dr. Chen joined them, her eyes gleaming with excitement at the prospect of continuing her research in the depths of space. As they approached the boarding ramp, a young Romulan ensign rushed up to them, his face flushed with urgency. "Captains," he panted, "long-range sensors have detected an approaching fleet. They're not responding to our hails." Randy and Uma exchanged a glance, their enhanced abilities allowing them to communicate without words. They both sensed something unusual about this situation, but neither felt any hint of threat or malice. "Delay the launch," Uma ordered, her voice calm but authoritative. "Prepare to initiate first contact protocols." The crew sprang into action, their training overcoming any initial panic. Randy addressed the assembled dignitaries and spectators, his voice carrying across the spaceport. "Ladies and gentlemen, we've encountered an unexpected situation. Please remain calm and follow the instructions of our security personnel." As the alien fleet entered orbit, the true nature of their visit became clear. The ships, elegant and otherworldly, took up positions around Romulus in a formation that appeared more ceremonial than aggressive. A transmission crackled through the comm systems, requesting permission to send an envoy to the surface. Randy and Uma, trusting their instincts, agreed to meet the alien representative aboard the USS Harmony. As they waited in the ship's conference room, the air thick with anticipation, the door slid open to reveal a being unlike any they had encountered before. The alien, introducing herself as Ambassador Kalara of the Zarkon, stood nearly 7 feet tall. Her skin shimmered with an iridescent quality, shifting colors like the surface of a soap bubble. 4 arms emerged from her torso, each ending in delicate, multi-jointed fingers. "Greetings, children of Earth and Romulus," Kalara said, her voice a melodious trill that seemed to bypass their ears and resonate directly in their minds. "We have waited many cycles for this moment." As Kalara began to explain the true nature of their presence, Randy and Uma listened with rapt attention. The revelation that both humans and Romulans were part of an ancient experiment in evolution, seeded across the galaxy by the Zarkon's ancestors, sent shockwaves through the room. "The genetic awakening you've experienced," Kalara continued, gesturing to Randy and Uma, "is the culmination of our forebears' work. Your union has unlocked potential that has lain dormant for millennia." Dr. Chen, who had been furiously taking notes, spoke up. "But why now? Why reveal yourselves at this moment?" Kalara's eyes, multifaceted like those of an insect, seemed to twinkle with amusement. "Because now you are ready. The combined strengths of humans and Romulans, fully realized, hold the key to unlocking the greatest mysteries of the cosmos." The ambassador extended one of her hands, a holographic projection springing to life above her palm. It showed a swirling mass of stars and cosmic dust, the galactic core. "We invite you to join us on an expedition to the heart of the galaxy. There, the secrets of your origins and the true nature of the universe await." Randy and Uma shared a look of excitement and trepidation. This was far beyond the scope of their original mission, but the opportunity was too extraordinary to pass up. After a brief consultation with Earth and Romulan authorities, who were equally stunned and intrigued by these revelations, they made their decision. "We accept your invitation, Ambassador Kalara," Randy announced, his voice steady despite the enormity of the moment. "The USS Harmony will join your fleet on this unprecedented journey." As the crew made final preparations for their altered mission, a palpable sense of anticipation filled the ship. Humans and Romulans worked side by side, their recent differences forgotten in the face of this cosmic adventure. Zarkon observers moved among them, offering insights and assistance with their advanced technology. The USS Harmony's engines roared to life, lifting the ship gracefully from the Romulan spaceport. As they broke orbit, joined by the ethereal ships of the Zarkon fleet, Randy and Uma stood on the bridge, their hands intertwined. "Ready for our next adventure?" Randy asked, echoing his earlier question with a grin. Uma's eyes sparkled with a mixture of love and excitement. "More than ever," she replied, pulling him close for a passionate kiss. As their lips met, the stars on the monitor began to streak by, the ship accelerating to speeds it was never designed to achieve. The combined knowledge and abilities of humans, Romulans, and Zarkon were already pushing the boundaries of what was thought possible. The USS Harmony plunged deeper into the unknown, its crew united in purpose and spirit. As they approached the swirling nebula that marked the galaxy's core, Randy and Uma knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, not just as a couple, but as representatives of a new era of interstellar cooperation and discovery. The mysteries of their origins beckoned, promising to reshape their understanding of the universe and their place within it. As the ship entered the cosmic maelstrom, the crew's initial apprehensions melted away, replaced by a sense of wonder and limitless possibility. Their journey, it seemed, was only just beginning.
If you finished this story, please subscribe and like the video. Then leave a comment that says, "I liked the story," and I will heart every single one of them. It really helps me. Thank you for your time.